Miss Russell, although you come to us from the United States, you were born in this country.
Yes.
Where?
As you very well know, having known me in those days.
Yes, indeed. I didn't know where you were born, though.
I was born in Maida Vale.
Yes. Was there any precedent in your family for music and the theatre?
Well, my father's family were very good musicians. As a matter of fact, my father's aunt, who brought him up, was the great pal of Adelina Patti. Mm-hmm. And father used to be yanked off to some castle she had in Wales in his youth, and there was great singings and goings-on.
Yes. He wasn't a professional musician?
No, he was a very good pianist, but he felt all ladies should take to music.
Yes. So that's why you began to take an interest?
Yes, I was never very musical or much of a lady, but I had to do it. I used to play the double bass in the school orchestra, and I practiced that for ages, and I was terribly good on the double bass, the water music. Although actually what I really wanted to do was play the clarinet, but father said it wasn't ladylike to blow, I must scrape.
When did you decide that music was to be your career?
Well, I didn't decide it, father did.
Yes.
And sent me to the Royal College of Music to learn to be a teacher.
Mm-hmm. What subjects did you take?
I took piano and composition.
What was your first professional engagement?
As a matter of fact, my first professional engagement was in the bowels of the BBC, where we are at this present, being a folk singer. I did a recital of Spanish folk songs to start with. I was always folk singing down there,
yes,
particularly in the middle of the night, those empire jobs, you know.
All the Spanish folk songs?
Well, not always. Sometimes I did Spanish, sometimes English, and in fact, I have had very much the same format for that as I do for what I do now. I used to talk a little bit about the background and history and then do them.
Yes. What other jobs were you doing?
Well, that was all.
That was all?
Yes.
Then what was the next step after that?
What, after folk singing? Well, then I went to Canada.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Well, because my father died and my mother's a Canadian, and being only daughter, mother said, come, dear, and I went, and I was mother's little helper.
Yes.
Until the war started.
So you went to Canada, was your mother. Were there more musical opportunities there?
Not really, and until the troop show thing started at the beginning of the war.
Yes. What did you do?
Well, the local Rotary Club thought it would be a fearfully good idea if the Junior League girls were made into an all-girl troop show. And so that was done, and most of them wanted to be gorgeous and glamorous and fascinating. And they said, some of you plainer ones have got to be the comics, and I was one of them.
What did you do?
Well, we got the thing organised, and then it was a question of getting the material. And so I used to sit down and write comic songs for the troop show and sing them myself, all done up in fright wigs and false moustaches and things like that.
Change from Spanish folk songs. And then what? What did that lead to?
Well, that led to nothing much, and because of that, I became an interviewer for CBC. In fact, I was doing very much the same thing as you're doing now.
Yes. And
the troop show was just sort of war work, you see. But when the war ended, the Rotary Club said, come and entertain our ladies' night. And I said, I can't, because there's no troop show. And they said, well, you come and do your pieces, and we'll pay you. And I thought, ooh, lovely money. And so I turned out to be the club date queen of Toronto.
Yes.
And my club date money was transcending my CBC money to such an extent, I thought, well, I think I'll quit the interview and stick to the comic turn and see where it goes.
Yes. When did you first start your musical burlesques?
Well, I was on a program called Round the Marble Arch in Toronto. It was old music hall songs. And when we'd scraped the bottom of the barrel from the old ones, I thought, well, I'm sure I could write one myself as good as those. And I came out with a number called Don Bonzo Alfonso the Toreador.
Spanish folk songs again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And then you worked with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra.
Yes, they used to have this comic symphony concert every Christmas, and that's when I first did the talk on the ring with illustrations by the orchestra.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I told the first horn, when he played the Siegfried horn call, to split the top note because I had a gag to follow it, and he didn't. He played it perfectly, and I was furious with him.
Well, gradually you accumulated the material for a full evening. You wrote your own Gilbert and Sullivan opera, your own art songs and lieder and folk songs and pop songs and everything.
Yes.
What was your first big success with that kind of entertaining?
Well, I did quite well in Canada, and then all the Canadian Federation of Music Teachers would have me go to their towns to do a show, probably to show their pupils what not to do.
Yes.
And then from then I went to New York, and my first thing I did in New York, I played Lady Bracknell in The Importance of Being Earnest on Kraft Television Theatre.
Straight acting?
Yes. And since there wasn't a great deal of that in those days, I collected my bits and pieces and did a town hall concert.
Yes.
And I started to tour.
Coast to coast? And then where?
And then I went to Australia and South Africa, and
you came back here?
then I came back here in 1954.
And you filled the Albert Hall and the Festival
No, I
Hall?
started in the New Watergate Theatre, as a matter of fact. Because I thought I'd go back to the theatre, because I might have, out of that, you could get into the theatre. But you see, the next year I went to the Edinburgh Festival. I was the first comic turn within the festival. Then I was right back in the music business again.
Yes. This must be a very exhausting life, a full evening on your own in which you do everything from singing Brunhilde to playing the bagpipes and then flying on the next morning to another town.
Well, it's really no more exhausting than sitting in the wings waiting for your cue, because you've got to pay attention anyway, so you might as well be doing something.
Miss Russell, although most of your time is devoted to performing such operatic gems as the mad scene from Anemia and the seduction scene from La Gorgonzola, you have still made occasional appearances in real opera. I was thinking of The Witch in Hansel and Gretel, for instance.
Oh, yes. Well, that's my one operatic role.
Now, it may be in my imagination, but some of your burlesques seem recognizable takeoffs of artists known to us. Have you had any complaints about this?
I have, as a matter of fact, had a terrible complaint for years from one artist. But actually, the artist I was taking off was somebody quite different. I actually did have an artist in mind, but not that one. This particular one I've never heard to this day, but she still carries on about it.
Yeah. You seem to inspire extreme reactions of love or hate in your audiences or in the press. I've been looking through some cuttings, and I found raves like the funniest woman in the world, and real cold water notices like the one calling you a Philistine rabble-rouser. But you never get a non-committal notice.
No.
What section of the community would you say is, quote, your public, unquote?
Well, it's rather hard to say, because people have remarked a great deal how very peculiar my audiences are. They range from elderly clergymen to beatniks and teenagers and polite ladies and all sorts of things.
Yes. In the true tradition of the prima donna, you have announced a number of farewell appearances, but I trust you have no intention of retiring.
No, as a matter of fact, I did announce the farewell appearance, and I went into a play which turned out to be a most frightful flop. So the play didn't come into London, so I did.
You took the play's place
Sort of
in the theatre?
And Evermore came out of that same doorway, and I went. I said, this keeps happening.